Sree Maathre namaha, with the divine blessings of our divine parents, Lalita Mahatripur Sundari and Father Divine Lord Mahadeva. We are continuing to discuss the very powerful Soundar Lahari. Today we'll make an attempt to discuss the 50th slokam of Soundar Lahari. And before we dive into the levels of depth that are being permitted by our divine parents, we'll offer our prayers and get started. Manasvi, can you chant Shrikanta Matlasya?
श्रीकान्तो मातुलोयस्य जननी सर्वमङ्गल जनकाः शङ्करो महादेवः त्वं वन्दे गजाननम्
Vimalapati.
विमलपटी कमलकुटी पुस्तकरुद्राक्ष सस्तहस्तपुटी कामाक्षी पक्ष्मलाक्षी कलितविपङ्क्षी विभासि वैरञ्ची
Manojavam.
मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि
Apadamapahartaram.
आपदामुपहत्कारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम्
Shri Ram Rama Rameti.
श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं रामनाम वरानने
Gnananandamayam Devam.
ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीव उपास्महे
Gurave Sarvalokanam.
गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीमेधदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः
Shivashaktiyayukto.
शिवशक्त्या युक्तो यदि भवति शक्तप्रभवितुं न चेदेवं देवो न खलु कुशलस्पन्दितुमपि अतस्त्वामाराध्यां हरिहरविरिञ्चादिविरपि प्रणन्तुं स्तोतुं वा कथमकृतपुण्यप्रभवति.
Very good. Just before we dive into the 50th slokam, 2 days ago we celebrated the Chandrasekhar Indra Saraswati, the walking god who was very popularly called as his Aradhanotsavam, the day he became one with Paramatma. He lived for full 100 years and he was the Pitadipati of the very powerful Kanchi Kamakoti Pitam in the Kanchipuram of Mother, which is one of the Moksha Puris that we discussed last class. So one day we'll discuss about the grandness of this great Guru who we are all blessed to share the space of time with him. He lived for exactly 100 years and the Dalai Lama also commented that if there is a true saint who has lived the way the books have prescribed in this generation, it is none other than the Kanchi Kamakoti Pitadipati Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, who was also called Periyava affectionately and lovingly. So, in one of the sabhas, disciples asked him, what is the importance of Sri Kala Hasti and Tirupati being very adjacent to each other? And is this anyway connected to Advaita? Then Guruji then explained that Sri Kala Hasti is a place which essentially signifies the importance of Bhakti Margam, while the other margas of yoga, Jnana Marga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, are extremely important. The importance of Bhakti, which can lead to Jnanam, Raja Yogam, is also being exemplified when an insect like a spider and snake and an elephant all are animals that cannot speak, that cannot say a word of mantra, but how did they get the status of becoming a part of Sri Lingam, Sri Sivalingam, that we call the Sri Kala Hasti today, where all the 9 planets became the Kavacham for Lord, and nobody is permitted to touch the Shivalingam. So when they do Abhishekam, the priests actually don't touch the Shivalingam and perform the Abhishekam because of the sanctity and because of the rituals that are prescribed around the Sri Kala Hasti. A long time ago, in the 1960s, one of the priests' nail touched the Shivalingam when the Abhishekam was being performed, and it got converted into a gold and silver kind of a mix of the nail, which, with the flow of time, as the nails grow, this part of the nail which grew, the tip of the nail of the little finger that touched, which became a silver mixed gold kind of a material. And as the nail grew, and when the nail was cut by the priest, that nail was preserved and it is still there preserved to show the power of touching this Shivalingam accidentally, knowingly or unknowingly, on how it can convert. Why would it convert into precious metals as part of Subramanya Jananam? When Shiva's semen actually descended down, that continued to become the precious metals on this planet Earth. And this Shivalingam, which was accidentally touched by the priest on the nail, nails essentially are they living or dead? If they're living, then why is that you and I don't feel the pain when we trim the nails? Just like when we, cut the hair, we don't feel the pain or the pinch. And if they are dead, how is that they continue to grow? Because the root of the nail has the blood supply, which continues to ensure it grows. And if you go into the medical sciences, it talks about the dead protein of keratin, which the body basically transforms into nails and the hair. Now, coming back to the Sri Kala Hasti, along with these 3 animals, there was also one of the Nayanars, Kannappa Nayanar, a tribal hunter who actually fed the Shivalingam the food that he tasted. And then Shiva, the Shivalingam, ate that food. And to mark the devotion, to say the devotee is always above the god, because of the devotee's devotion, the confidence, the faith in a god or a goddess is instilled much more in commoners like me. And because of that, what happens? People, others also get motivated. People, the devotees get reinstilled with their faith that if these insect like a spider animal, like the snake and the elephant were blessed, why would I not be? And therefore, we will make sincere efforts. Now, what is the significance of this Shivalingam? If you keenly see that Shivalingam, the Sri Kala Hasti is one of the Panchabhuta lingas of Shiva, Agni Lingam in Arunachalam, Jalalingam in Jambukeshwaram, Vayulingam in Sri Kala Hasti, Akasalingam in Chidambaram, and then what is the one Prithvi Lingam in Kanchipuram, Ekamranath Lingam. These are the 5 lingas to do with the Panchabhutas. Now, if you keenly look at that Shivalingam, when the Kavacham is removed and when they are performing Abhishekam, you will see the spider, the snake with the hood raised, and the tusks of the elephant. That all these 3 animals fought with each other and in the process killed each other, right? How did they kill each other? Why did they fight with each other? They fought because the love and affection they have on the Shiva. So the spider would every day do its cobwebs, and it would think it is offering clothes to Shiva. Okay, so it would make its cobweb around the Shivalingam, and then the snake would come coil around the Shivalingam, offering the leaves, bilva leaves, the flowers that it will bring. And the elephant would bring water in its trunk and do abhishekam to the Shivalingam. When elephant is doing abhishekam to the Shivalingam, the cobweb and the flowers and the leaves that the snake would bring and offer to the Shivalingam and the cobweb made by the spider would get washed away. So this continued, and all the three would fight with each other. When the snake would come offer the flowers and the bilva leaves, sometimes because of its weight and the flowers and the leaves that it's offering to the Shivalingam, the cobweb gets torn apart. So the spider was mad. In Ayurveda, if there is any poison that cannot be treated, that is the spider's poison. Okay. And so one day, as the three of them came together and offered their prayers one after another, the snake came with a set of leaves, bilwa leaves, and offered and coiled around the Shivalingam, in the process trying to offer the bilwa leaves from the top. It unknowingly destroyed the cobweb of the spider. The spider got mad. And what did the spider do? It said, "You think you are the most venomous or poisonous, one, and let me show you what I can do. You are thinking I'm tiny and therefore I cannot do anything." And it tried biting the snake. The spider tried biting the snake. At the same time, when the spider was biting the snake, the elephant came and offered water, where both the snake and the spider got washed away along with their offerings on the Shivalingam. So the snake got mad at the elephant and said, "Since you are using this trunk to blow water onto the Shivalingam and washing away all my offerings, I will get into your trunk." And the snake, along with the spider, got into the trunk of the elephant, and it bit at the Varanasi junction where the trunk meets the head of the elephant. And in that pain, when the snake was biting, the bridge, the nasal bridge internally, the elephant could not tolerate the pain. It went and banged its head at the foot of the Shivalingam in pain. What is a true mark of devotee? Whether he is happy or she is happy, whether they're unhappy, their sorrow, the only thing they do is go tell the God that they pray to. Thank you. I'm very happy for this. Sorry, I don't know what karmas I have done. I'm suffering with this. Please ensure that though I'm suffering with these karmas, my devotion to you does not decrease and my prayers to you don't get broken up. This is how typically devotees pray to the god or goddess that they are fond of praying to. So the same thing was done by the elephant. When elephant went and banged, remember the spider was biting the snake while the snake slithered into the trunk of the elephant. And now the elephant is trying and banging at its head in pain to the foot of the Shivalingam. And the elephant's skull got crushed as it didn't stop banging with because of the pain. So the elephant got killed, and the elephant's trunk got crushed, in which the snake and the spider were there. Since all the three animals died at the foot of the Shivalingam while offering, immediately after offering their prayers and the offerings that they have, then Shiva appeared and said, "Starting today, this Shivalingam will transform to show the shape of the spider, which would always offer the vastra to me in the form of cobweb. And then the snake that would always offer bilvapatras and the shankam flowers, which are a favorite to me. And then the elephant, which would do abhishekam to me. All the three of you have done with love. So I am transforming the Shivalingam to represent the shape of you. So if you look at the Shivalingam in the light of the lamps, when the Abhishekam is being done, when the priests remove the Navagraha Kavacham to the Sri Kala Hasti Lingam, you will see spider at the bottom. As you go up, you will see the raised hood of the snake. As you go up, you will see a part of the trunk and the tusks of the elephant coming out gently from the Shivalingam. What is the importance of this to us? Very good. A spider fought with a snake, and a snake went into the trunk of the elephant and bit. Now, if you look in, Kalasti is the Vayulingam. Don't forget that aspect. So, if you look at your body, if I look at my body, this is a Vayulingam, which is infusing life into what is infusing life into my body. If I'm Shivam and I'm not turning into a Shivam, the Shivatvam is being instilled and being administered by the prana air that is going into my body. Every time I inhale, oxygen is going. In Sanskrit, we call the oxygen as the prana vayu, and that prana is maintaining. Now, this vayu lingam that is there at the base of the vayu lingam or this body is the Sri. What is Sri? Sri is auspicious, prosperity. Spider has many names. In Sanskrit, the synonym of spider was taken as Sri. So the Kundalini that is there at the bottom of our spine, which is a very similar structure to the Shivalingam, right? If you look at the Sadguru Jagi Vasudev's Dhyanalingam, which has been activated with the different chakras, you know, you will essentially find it very, very similar to the Merudandam or the spinal cord of a human being with the chakras. Therefore, many of these man made or devotee made Shivalingas like the Dhyanalingas are considered to be a breathing, living guru because life has been infused into them by bringing in the activation of the chakras. Therefore, when people go there, they feel energy. Same is the case with the Maha Kailasam, which is on the northeast side of India, now in China, the land of Tibet, which is an activated mega Shivalingam, which is the closest to Shiva's physical body. Shiva has taken 64 Leela avatars, right? If you go to Sri Sailam, you will see Vriddha Mallikarjuna. Similarly, he has taken the role of Jangamadeva, Kirataka, when he fought with Arjuna in Kirataka Arjuniyam. Many such Leela Murtis that Shiva has taken. Now, this Sri is basically the spider which represents the Kundalini in our Mooladhara chakra. This Kundalini, which is also considered Maha Maya, because as long as we don't realize that we have this Kundalini within us, whether you realize or not, it is functioning. But when you realize it is there in you and it is performing all these duties like inhaling, making you inhale, blood circulation, right? The movement of the eyeballs, eyelids, everything that is involuntarily being controlled is being controlled by the Kundalini. This Kundalini, which is extremely powerful, as long as you are in its control, which is the case with 99.9% of the people, the Kundalini continues to act in us as Maya, pushing us towards Kama, Krodha, Mada, Matsarya, Lobha, and Moha, the six enemies that are there within us. Where do you get anger from? You don't get it from outside. The trigger is from outside, possibly, but the internal eruption always happens inside. Similarly for desires, similarly for greed. Now, the moment you start doing sadhana, what does sadhana mean? Practice. What kind of practice? You're sitting and chanting any mantram. Om, Om. What is the base of the sadhana? The prana that you are inhaling. Therefore, you are able to retain that prana and use that prana in your body and generate the nada. Nada yogam, is a part of one of the paths to reaching the samadhi state. What does nada yogam mean? When you are merging the sounds that are being produced in your body to the natural sounds. When we do omkaram, om, how is the omkaram getting concluded? The makaram and bindu are replicating the nadam of a brahmari. Okay, now these sounds of the nature are what will essentially calm us, our mind down, bring our focus back. Now, when this happens, when you are making these sounds, you are hearing some sound outside, some vibrations are going inside as well. These sounds, with the help of the breath, is going to the bottom of the spine from where the words are being born. As you and I want to speak, the thoughts need to get converted into speech. That speech needs to come out in the form of a language of your choice that you're speaking. Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikari. Para is the superconscious. When Pashyanti, Para, the superconscious is entering this bodily defined finite amount of conscious, it is becoming Pashyanti. From Pashyanti, when it is rising up, what is rising up? The thoughts that hit the bottom of the Mooladharam and therefore coming to the Vishuddhi chakra, which is the sound box. At that sound box, the Pashyanti is getting translated into words and sentences that are being spoken out that you can listen to. The sound that you can listen to is called Vaikari. The power of these four stages are inversely proportional. Whatever I'm able to speak out is the least powerful. If the power of whatever you are hearing from my speech is one, then the power of madhyama, which is at the sound box or the throat vishuddhi chakra, the throat junction, the power of it is two, and the power of going, for example, going to the bottom of the spine. How would I go to the bottom of the spine? When you are chanting a mantra, you will see some people are chanting outside Raja Raja Chita Ragni Ramya Raji Balochana. I'm chanting out. If I close my lips, I'm chanting internally and the tongue is moving. Raja Raja Chita Ragni Ramya Raji Balochana. Right? Internally, I'm chanting. Only I would know that my tongue is moving. That is a form of Vaikari. Then the tongue rests on the floor of the mouth and I'm chanting, but this time, rather than hearing the sound from my mouth, I keep chanting. My eyes start focusing on the third eye, and whatever I'm chanting, I'm visualizing here and chanting. This is the Pashyanti state. Though it comes from the spine, the projection happens on the forehead. The fourth state of Para is I know I'm chanting, but I just lose track of time. My eyes just relax with the eyes closed. They might be pointing to the third eye, they might be pointing to the tip of the nose, or they might be just rested without the movement of eyes. I suddenly wake up and say, what name was I chanting? Okay, this is the closest to what we call yoga nidra or samadhi. And that is the highest form of prayer. When you keep chanting something and you forgot what you were chanting and you are repeating the same name, Raja Raja Chitaragni Ramya Rajulochana, Raja Raja Chitaragni Ramya Rajulochana, because your internal awareness is stuck on it. Okay. Now, when we are doing this, what happens is the Kundalini, which controls us, starts coming into our control. When that happens, the Kundalini becomes the Sri. Which Sri? The same Sri that we refer to in Sri Suktam, the same Sri that we refer to in Sri Vidya, the same Sri that we refer to as the universal feminine energy that is there in all the beings, irrespective of your physical gender, whether you are a male or a female. This is the secret of when a Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi sings Arunachala Shiva, he says, you are the only male in this whole cosmos, and I want to get married to you. When Krishna is performing the Rasa Leela with Gopikas, essentially meaning Purushottama name is applicable only to Vishnu and Vishnu avatars. So therefore we say, Krishna, you are the Purushottama, and everybody else who is trying to reach you with love, hatred, devotion is basically a female that is wanting to get the male in order to why should a female get the male? Not to have the physical union, right, but to become one with the super conscious. In that aspect, all the devotees, irrespective of their gender, are always compared to be a feminine force that is longing to become one with the masculine force, whether it is of Shiva or Vishnu. This is also the secret behind why Mahavishnu, who is considered to be the only male, okay, other than Shiva, is also taking on the role of the Mohini Avataram and getting married or becomes one with Shiva to give birth to the Dharmasasta Ayappa. Now, when this transformation in us happens during sadhana, it comes with practice, right? You don't need to really know the techniques of meditation, but if you are moving with bhakti, unknowingly this happens. How do you know this happens? Sudha Sara Vivarshini is a name of Lalita Sahasranam. When a devotee is focusing, this is coincidentally also connected to the 50th slokam that we are going to discuss, which talks about, the internal secretions. Sudha Sara Vivarshini, when a devotee is focusing on the object of his desire, the God, Vishnu, Rama, Krishna, Lalita, Shiva, Hanuman, whichever is the object or the God or the goddess that he or she is praying to, then what happens is internally the secretions are secreted. From the Sahasratalam, the secretions flow into the 72,000 nadis. External secretions are the tears. Sometimes when you sit in puja unknowingly, you will start getting tears. This is an external representation. The internal representation is Sudha. Sudha Sara Abhivarshini means the Sudha means elixir or Amritam. Now, when this Kundalini starts transforming into Sri, what happens? The Kundalini starts becoming erect and it starts raising its hood. The Kundalini's length in every one of us, if you extend the thumb, the right hand thumb, and the right little finger like this, then whatever is the length of this, your Kundalini, when it is completely touching from your Mooladharam to Sahasratalam, it would be 3.5 lengths of this, right? If you put like this 3 times and half, whatever would be the length, if you measure the distance, where is the Mooladhara Chakram? The skin in the human body is joined at only one place, that is in between the genitals and the anus. That is the only place where the skin is joined. From there, if you measure, that's where you have to put the little finger, the joining of the skin. Wherever the thumb comes first, little above the urinary bladder, that is where the Swadhisthana chakram is. Wherever the skin is joining between the genitals and anus, that's where the Mooladhara chakram is there in every one of us. The first length is where Swadhisthana chakram is. If you keep your little finger at that Swadhisthana chakram and measure, it will typically come to your navel. That is where your Manipura chakram is. If I keep from my navel to my heart, wherever the length comes, that is where my Anahata chakram is. If I keep from my Anahata and comes, then it comes to my, if you see, it comes to my throat, right? If I keep it like this is my Vishuddhi chakra. If I keep here, it comes exactly to my Agya chakra. If I keep my Agya chakra, it comes wherever the mark is, that's where the Sahasratalam. So this is how you measure on where these chakras in your body are. And that's exactly when the Kundalini completely rises up, it would be 3.5, the length of this. Now, this Kundalini, when it becomes consciously awakened, it raises its hood every day when you and I sleep. The Kundalini raises and becomes awakened, but it is unconscious. You are not making a conscious effort. And our goal is not to awaken the Kundalini. Our goal is to focus on our divine with so much love of devotion that Kundalini awakening becomes a byproduct of it. Okay. Now, when Kundalini awakens, it awakens in the form of a cobra that is rising its hood. Once the Kundalini awakens, the Mooladhara chakram is controlled by Mahaganapati. The Mahaganapati, Vignakaraka, Vignanasaka, he has to ensure that our obstacles, what are our obstacles? The karmas that we do in prarabdha or sanchita karma, the karmas that come from past lives or the karmas that we are doing now, that will continue to become the obstacles. When we continue to pray, then what happens is Ganesha, who is also called Heramba. Heramba means the one who is sitting next to the father Shiva, waiting for an opportunity to serve Shiva at any point in time. That Heramba, when sees his mother is coming in the full form of Kundalini, he bows down to her and therefore opens up the path, because it takes a lot of effort and trust and faith to awaken the Kundalini consciously, whether you do it with Jnana, Bhakti, or Rajamarga. Now, when that comes through, this is also the story of Vinayaka Chavithi. When mother is making Ganesha from the haldi on her body, essentially it means she is keeping the gatekeeper in front of her house. When Shiva comes, Ishanam Sarvavidyanam Ishwaram Sarvabhutanam. Why would he kill his own son? We say Ishanam Sarvavidyanam Ishwaram Sarvabhutanam. He is all pervading, ubiquitous, and all knowing. Would he not know that his own wife Parvati made this boy with, haldi or turmeric and brought him to life? Why would he take away his head? Okay. So Shiva and Parvati are our divine parents. They made you, they made me, infusing life into us. But as long as we continue to think with our worldly order of thoughts towards this world, the physical world, the obstacles will continue to become amplified. And therefore, what would happen? We will never be able to reach the state. Then what happens? If you see, Shiva uses his trident Trisulam to remove the head. What does that mean? Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. If you have to go beyond these three states, Shiva's Trisulam, the handle, which can take us to the fourth state, right? And if in order to reach Mother, we have to reach to the fifth state. Turiya is the fourth state. Turiya Tita is the fifth state. So when we are making efforts towards Mother's path, it would be Shiva, the controller of our sleep, the controller of Laya Karam. Laya doesn't mean sleep, death. Laya means temporary rest. Laya means recovery phase. So Shiva will give us the power to go to the fourth state. When Shiva is using his Trishulam to remove the head of Ganesha, who has been created by Mother and life has been infused by her, just like you and I. When that head is removed by the Trishulam, it essentially means now you and I are being prepared to go to the fourth state. What happens when we go to the fourth state? When we go to the fourth state, we are going above and beyond the state of sleep, Jagrat, awakening, sushupti, deep sleep or rest, swapna, the transition. Then when this happens, you are able to go into the yoga nidra phase that I was talking about, the fourth phase. When you go into yoga nidra, you are able to go into from Vaikari to Madhyama to Pashyanti, you will be able to go. From when you go to the Turiya state and are constantly trying to push the limits of Turiya and Turiya Tita, then your consciousness, your finite consciousness of this body and this head is able to communicate and become one with the Para. Therefore, Lalita Devi is also called Paradevata, right? Adi Shankaracharya has composed a beautiful composition called Navavarna Malika, okay, Navaratna Malika about mother, in which all the fourth line continues to say Paradevata, Paradevata, Paradevata means the all-pervading goddess, the Shakti of Shiva. If we're saying Ishanam Sarvidyanam Ishwaram Sarvabhutanam, Shiva will only function just like the first slokam of Saundar Lahari with the power of the Shakti. And that's what happens. So when Shiva is removing the head of Ganesha, doesn't mean physically he's removing. That Ganesha is you and I. Our karma that we have done in our past lives and this lives is causing vignas for our spiritual progress and our moksha. So when we are able to sit and chant, sit and meditate in whichever faith we are in, what would happen? First, our buddhi needs to work. Therefore, Ganesha's wives are called Siddhi and Buddhi, right? But the order is first your buddhi needs to function. When your buddhi needs to function properly, when it functions properly, making you read a Bhagavad Gita, making you read a Purana, making you listen to a Satsangatyam, making you listen to the stories, making you listen to the cryptic secrets of Lalita Sahasranamam, Saundar Lahari, Sundarakanda, Ramayanam, Mahabharatam, then what happens? Your buddhi starts blooming. When your buddhi starts blooming, you will naturally start becoming prosperous. This is something that is also explained and expanded in the Sri Suktam that we'll discuss in future. Okay. Now, this is essentially what happens when our Kundalini starts awakening and it starts becoming active, and therefore it reaches the Mooladhara chakra. And now the Ganapati in us, in you, I, everyone, what happens is the Ganapati becomes active. When the Ganapati becomes active, he opens up the Mooladhara chakra. When Mooladhara is opened, then your Kundalini can start ascending up. Opening up the Mooladhara takes a lot of effort. Okay? Because we say beginning is half done in English. So it takes 50% of your effort to spiritually progress at Mooladhara Chakram itself. Once it starts, the Kundalini starts crossing it, Ganesha will help us progress through. And Subramanya, younger brother of Ganesha, who is also the lord of the six chakras that we have until from Mooladhara to Agya Chakra, who controls the Shada Anana, the six phases of him, who is born biologically from Shiva and mother from the Saravana Tatakam in the Himalayas. He will ensure the Kundalini is basically flowing up in the cerebrospinal fluids that we have in our spinal cord in the form of Ida and Pingala, which are controlled by the two nostrils we have. As we start doing this sadhana, we get into a state of hamsa. If you keep your finger, you will see only one nostril is active. Whenever one nostril is active, in order to balance both the nostrils, you will do something called Vishnu Mudra, where you will close your index and the middle finger, and you will use the ring finger, little finger, and the thumb. And with the right thumb, you will close the right nostril. Inhale with the left nostril. If you're inhaling, for example, keep a count 1, 2, 3 seconds. You will then block with these two fingers closed. You will block the left nostril. If you inhaled for 3 seconds, you have to exhale for 6 seconds using the other nostril. If you do this 8 times, the cycle, right? Exhale and again inhale through the right nostril. Let's say you are inhaling for 3 seconds, then exhale through the left nostril for 6 seconds. When you do this, the balance in the body gets restored, the focus gets restored. When you do this, what happens? The Ida and Pingala start balancing out. Otherwise, only one is functioning. Ida is functioning more actively, or Pingala is functioning more actively. When you do this, what happens is essentially your Kundalini starts being balanced and being raised up in the Sushumna. When it rises, when we discuss the Sri Suktam in detail, we will understand Hiranya Varnam, the ball of gold, the shade of light, which is of the gold's radiance, is what raises up. When that happens, Subramanya takes us up. This is the secret of Sri Kala Hasti. Now, what is the secret of having the Navagrahas as the Kavacha? When you make an effort to, whether in Bhakti Marga, Jnana Marga, since we are talking about Kala Hasti, let's stick with Bhakti Marga. What happens is the 9 planets that are bound to give you the karmic results based on whatever you have done in the past lives and the current life, they will start supporting you irrespective of your purva karmas or this sanchita karmas or prarabdhas. Because now using your buddhi, no matter what you have done in the past, you are not constantly regretting about a past that you cannot change. You are being in the present and bringing your attention to doing the right thing. Therefore, what would happen is the Navagrahas will change the results that they have to give for you and therefore take you further to your spiritual progress. When that happens, Subramanya, who is married to Vishnu's daughter, Devasena, will take Valli and Devasena are the wives of Subramanya. He will accompany you from Sri Kala Hasti, where your Kundalini got activated and crossed Mooladhara Chakram, to the 7 hills of Tirupati. These 7 hills are basically the 7 chakras that we will cross. Once you cross the 7 chakras on the Tirumala, what is that place is called? Sri Nivasam, means the place where the Sri energy continues to reside. Okay. And in Tirupati, Venkateshwara is called Balaji because at the foot of the Moola Virat of Venkateshwara, there is a very powerfully activated Sri Chakram which continues to invite the cosmic energy onto this planet. In Kali Yuga, Vishnu has taken the avataram of Balaji. Okay, since Vishnu has a lot of power of Bala Tripura Sundari, he is also called Balaji. Okay, and because of the Sri Chakram, the cosmic energy keeps coming in. Where this Srinivasam is there in Tirumala is where the Kundalini goes and resides in the Sri in our Sastratalam, becoming one with the yogi. When this is the reason whether you call him Vishnu, Shiva, it doesn't matter. This is also the reason when you go into the sacrosanct Garbhalayam of Tirupati, no matter what you wanted to chant, what you wanted to speak, you will not be able to, your mind calms down. Because unknowingly, your body and physical body and mind now has gone into the Garbhagudi of Tirupati. So you are in the fourth state of awareness, Turiyam. And though you are in the fourth state, since you are in the physical proximity of the Lord, Venkateshwara and the Sri Chakram that is there at the foot, you will get into the super consciousness state of Para. And you will have a divine ecstasy when you are there. This is a story that was explained by Kanchi Periva when a devotee asked, what is the importance of Sri Kala Hasti? And which also has, so before you go to Sri Kala Hasti, there's a Ganapati temple, Sakshi Ganapati. Then, you go there and pray. This is also the reason when people go pray at Sri Kala Hasti, the evil planets, Rahu and Ketu, calm down, which are supposed to give the evil results, right? And their mother is called Jnana Prasoonamba. Jnana Prasoonamba basically if you go look at mother, you can see her anklets, her feet very, very clearly. She infuses knowledge in us to say there is no bigger vehicle and weapon than devotion. And when you are moving with the knowledge of devotion, you will naturally be always pleasant and happy. Jnana Prasuna Amba, mother who is always pleasant and who will give us knowledge. She has gifted knowledge to Indra and many, many saints, and therefore helping them realize the true realization of Indra, Sanaka, Sanandanas, and other great Saptarishis. So this is the secret of Sri Kala Hasti being in the proximity of the Kali Yuga Vaikuntham of Sri Venkateshwara. Now, talking about this story, this was basically revealed. The secret of the Sri Kala Hasti and Srinivasa or Tirumala have been revealed by the walking god of Kanchi Paramacharya, who has coded, decoded many cryptic secrets that are there in Sanatana Dharma. This is a brief attempt at this. In the next class, we will discuss the 50th slokam. Otherwise, I'll record and share with all of you. And with that, we will conclude today's class. I wish all of you and your families a wonderful English New Year and continue to make the efforts. And I'm sure the results will come in multitude. And when there's one person doing sadhana in a family, there'll be many others who will naturally start picking up. When especially the parents do this sadhana, kids might not register it at the age, the tender age of teenage or, in the intermediate phases that they are in high school, college, but they will come back to these tools of transformation as they turn into adults. And because they will learn by observing you rather than listening to you, right? So when you continue to do these sadhanas, it will infuse a brighter, safer, and peaceful future for everyone at home, and more so the kids who are the citizens of tomorrow of this planet. With that, we will conclude today's class. Manasvi, if you can chant Mangalam Guru Shri Amma.
मङ्गलं गुरुश्री चन्द्रमलीश्वरगे शक्तिगणपति शारदाम्बिके शङ्कराचार्यनिगे कालभैरवगे काली दुर्गगे वीरधीरासूर हनुमा मारुति चरणगे मङ्गलं गुरुश्री.
Stay blessed. We will meet in the next class. Sree Maathre Namaha.
Thank you.